All right, fellas, welcome back to the channel. Here we are. I'm excited to tell you that the car is actually running. It's nice to finally have the car running. Most of the kinks worked out of it, and it is in fact dyno tuned. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any footage of the dyno tune. So here we are again, of course, LS1 out of an 2002 F-Body Camaro with the Texas Speed PRC as cast heads. It has Wiseco Pistons in there. It has, forged pistons, forged rods, chromoly, push rods, the valves loaded in the heads, of course, redone. And then, intake, fueled racing, long tube headers, LS6 intake manifold, which is stock on the 2002 LS1s. So already had that. And of course, also a cam. So we've got a 224R cam in there. Now, the dyno, we probably let a little bit to be desired. So I think there's some room on the table still that this car probably has the ability to put out a little bit more power. So essentially what happens is with this intake being so close to the radiator, which gets really hot, it heats up this aluminum intake. And here's my air intake temperature sensor, right? My IAT, which was reading 180 degrees on the dyno, which obviously is really hot. When you're driving, you're not getting 180 degrees of air through here. But since that's what the ECU was reading, it was pulling 2 degrees of timing out due to those hot temperatures, which of course impacted how much horsepower we were making. Overall, I'm still pretty happy with it. Put down some pretty good numbers, and I got to tell you, it's a blast to drive. So here's a dyno tune. It's a Mustang dyno. All right, it's about 80 degrees out when the car was dynoed, and you can see here the test comments, IATs pulling at 2 degrees of timing. And there's the numbers we're making here. So let's see if we can get them in camera. It made 376 horsepower and 379 foot-pounds of torque. And if you notice here, up around, we probably would have anticipated to keep building a little bit more power here to redline. And that's where it kind of leveled off with the ECU. Pulling that timing out didn't help us there. But still made some pretty healthy numbers. Obviously at the crank, this is a well over 400 horsepower motor. So, excited. I'm going to try to do something with the intake to fix that up quite a bit to be able to get some more power out of it. One of the things that was suggested, someone running a similar setup, was what they did is they took this intake and they cut a hole here in this, driver's side wheel well, ran a tube down there, put the intake down there. So more or less you're running a cold air intake, reroute the air intake temperature sensor, put it somewhere down there. You can kind of keep the math, wherever you want, preferably with some room before and after to get a nice smooth reading through the math. And essentially that's it. So hopefully by doing that, maybe put some sort of reflective heat tape on here. Whether or not that does anything, we might give that a shot and see if we're able to lower those IATs and get a little more horsepower out of this motor. But overall, going from a 145, KA24 motor to this LS1, making probably over 450 at the crank, it's definitely quite a difference. And I think, fixing that, we should be able to get, just over 400 wheel horsepower on this car. And obviously it has gobs of torque down low, so it's a blast to drive. So let's go ahead and let's get out of the garage.